Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Henchman's Memoirs. This is our campaign recap of our 5e Dark Souls of Drakkenheim campaign. When we last left off, our heroes were inside the haunted city, and they had rescued a handful of women from the cult of Orcus, including representatives of each of the major factions in the Drakkenheim campaign. They had gotten the ladies out of there, and pretty quickly the woman who represented the Queen's men, when she found out that the party wasn't going to take her back to Buckle Down Row or wherever it was, slipped off during a skirmish, and the party had made their way to the Drakkenheim city garrison, area 9 over here, and as they approached the garrison and the members of the Hooded Lanterns were sort of letting down ladders and stuff for them to get in, there was some obvious discomfort on the part of Mara, who is the representative of the followers of the Fallen Fire. So Mara has a piece of delirium sort of lodged between her ample breasts there, under her breastbone, and can be seen glowing through her skin. And she did not want to end up in the hands of the Hooded Lanterns. But she really didn't have much of a choice. The party went straight there, and she wasn't just going to strike off into the city on her own. But she did try to take one of the PCs aside and say, listen, I don't want these people to know the truth about me. But one of the other women that was captured with her is a member of the Hooded Lanterns, and of course their scouts, the people who were leading them on this expedition, Rolf and Petra Lang, are both loyal to that faction. The Knights of the Silver Order and the Amethyst Academy are on more or less neutral terms with them. They knew that they would be able to get out of the city once they were in the garrison. So it was really this woman who turned out to be worried about being in the hands of the Hooded Lanterns. And not long after they got inside, they found out there were reasons for her worries. So Rain Highlash was temporarily in command of the garrison. What's his name? Lord Commander Elias Drexel was out on a mission, and Petra's brother, Handsome Ansem Lang, is off negotiating with the Knights of the Silver Order about the coming attack on the gate that's controlled by the Garmyr. And she really didn't want a fanatic of the Fallen Fire just wandering loose inside the garrison. She definitely wasn't going to go for that. She wanted to arrest her and lock her up. And there were a couple tense moments there. Peter was definitely not willing to just let her be thrown in irons and tossed in a dungeon somewhere and forgotten about. And he wanted assurances that she would receive decent treatment, that there wouldn't be any torture or neglect going on. And he even suggested that the other two faction women, be sort of put in the same room with her, or, arrested in the same way, which Rain eventually agreed to. And the party started sort of settling in for a long rest there in the garrison, because, as we'd said, they had been through the ringer trying to get to the cult Temple of Orcus and back. Nexel originally asked her about Argonath. So he's been receiving these visions that Argonath is the key. And he knows that Argonath was a gold dragon who was ridden by Saint Vitruvio back in the day, but he doesn't understand how that could be the key to whatever he's supposed to do here in the haunted city. So his player told me that he wanted to search out an old timer, a guy who'd seen some stuff, and ask him some questions. And so old Simon is listed in the book there among the people who are part of the Hooded Lanterns. And Nexel went and talked to him, and he told him a little bit about Argonath. He was a mighty dragon, and when the Dragon Wars happened, the Chroma Conclave came out of the north and attacked the city, and there was a big battle. And that's where St. Vitruvio eventually fell, fighting the half-dragon leader. But old Nexel here found out that Argonath's bones are actually buried here in the temple of St. Vitruvio, where St. Vitruvio himself was also laid to rest. And, of course, now that's under the control of the Garmyr, but, I don't know what it could mean that your visions are saying that Argonath is the key, because he's been dead 100 years. But maybe your next clue is somewhere in his tomb or something like that. So Nexel was very interested in that, and my players were really trying to dig into their characters' backstories and quests. Atticus is getting more serious about finding more delirium. He wants to find more delirium for different recipes and things that he can create. Thaddeus spent some time. He has completed his quest. He's got his family rug, but he's trying to decide where he can put it, where it would be absolutely safe. Atticus is like, well, I can, as an artificer, I can create a bag of holding like in my armor, but I have to sacrifice any other ability just for that, and I would be carrying around your rug, as like a major feature of my class, and he's not willing to do that. So they asked Rain about it, and Rain said, well, listen, there's a armory that's kind of the most secure place inside the garrison, or we could definitely put it in there, but then, a few different people, the quartermaster, a couple different people are going to know about it. Or there's this storeroom up in the haze where we don't keep much of value, old Christmas decorations and Halloween decorations. If we put your rug up there, nobody would know about it, and it would just be us. And chances are it would be actually safer that way. So there was some talking back and forth, and eventually Thaddeus decided he liked that. He went up to the storage room. He moved aside some old photo albums and clothes that people in the garrison are sure they're going to be able to fit back into one day. And then he used Move Earth to create a little hole in the ground there. So and cover his rug up. So then a conversation started with Rain about the fact that the party had told the Hooded Lanterns, that Queen's Park Garden was the best place for them to get these eldritch lilies that were needed for the Aqua Expurgo, and part of their whole plan to have the Hooded Lanterns and the Amethyst Academy and the Knights of the Silver Order actually kind of all be working together a little bit and kind of building trust and cooperation. And Rain was like, are you sure that you guys cleared out Queen's Park Garden, that you fought the boss of that area and kind of, cleared it out so that my rangers can go in there? And, they're like, we don't understand meta talk like clearing an area and whether or not the area has a boss. You guys should have known. It's in the inner city. It's going to be dangerous. You guys should have known. But, they eventually are like, Glenn, is us going back to Queen's Park Garden the main content that you've prepared for tonight? Because if it is, we don't want to throw you off again. We'll go out there and see what's happened to these urban rangers. So after making a few comments and stuff, they decided to head out from the garrison back to Queen's Park Garden to see if maybe they missed a major encounter or something like that. They decided to move at a medium speed so they would only have one check, but good old Pietro rolled a 1 for me, and so they ran into a random encounter in the inner city. So we just rolled on the table, and it turned out to be a Garmyr hunting party, which is the name that they've given to the gnolls that fight and control one of the gates here in the city, right? So it was a random roll, and it was a Garmyr hunting party with some wargs accompanying them, and I had Pietro's character roll, so it wasn't in my hands. And it was a pretty good sized party. of wargs and Garmyr. And then just before I close the book, I look and there's this little sentence. It's like, oh, it's double the number encountered if the party is in the inner city. So I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even have enough large warg. I had to use a regular sized token for one of them. And then, I had to lay out a bunch more. I had to lay out every Garmyr counter I printed for this campaign, for this fight. So I look up, and Nexel's player is literally drooling. He's almost foaming at the mouth in his excitement for what's to come, because he's 5th level now, and he has Fireball. And so they rolled initiative, and the party did reasonably well. And so Nexel starts off the fun by firing a fireball over here that wipes out, I think, every single one of these guys, except I put a Pack Lord in charge of each group. So the Pack Lord survived, and as much as I'm an old school DM, they say on all the YouTube videos, you should try to let your players enjoy, when they first get Fireball, and blowing up a bunch of low level minions is kind of cool. I think the wolf might have failed his save too. So this was a major thing. These wargs are on fire, and only the Pack Lord was left over here. And then Piotr just comes over here again. He refuses to even consider getting a long range option of any kind. He won't throw an improvised weapon. He's just like, I'm just going to hang out here. And then Thaddeus throws that spike growth spell over here, and it mortally wounded a bunch of them, and it was impeding their movement. So I don't remember what Atticus did. I think he might have shot a crossbow or something in their general direction, because they were waiting for the turn to come around again where Nexel could get another fireball off over here, which I'm pretty sure he did. And now, the things were looking pretty bad for the Garmyr and their pups. So now Piotr decided, it was time to spend some key points. He got out here and he was fighting the Pack Lord, but the rest of these guys could see how much of a danger these casters were, right? So the Garmyr that I had left over here, they have bows in their stat block, so they're all shooting their bows at Nexel now. And it was like the scene with Boromir in the Fellowship of the Ring. He got hit, 3 or 4 times. I think he used a shield spell or something. But basically, he's stumbling back here with 1 or 2 hit points. In fact, I think at one point he went down, and old Thaddeus got him up with a quick heal spell. So he was seeing the error of his ways, and Piotr, speaking of giving the players a chance to do their cool class abilities, twice in this fight he did the thing where he snatches an arrow out of the air and throws it back. I think this Pack Lord shot at him. He grabbed the arrow and threw it at like one of these wolves and finished him off. So now Atticus is playing tank to a couple of these wolves, and the casters are now using the thing where you can use part of your move, cast a spell, and then duck back. And even Nexel, with his 4 hit points less or whatever he's had, he's still like, well, I can just jump out, cast a spell real quick, and jump back. So a lot of the fun was being had by Piotr out here, trying to solo this Pack Lord, as the rest of the party sort of whittled these guys down. Pretty sure Piotr went down yet again, and they managed to get him up, and he was fighting the Pack Lord, and I described, according to some mythology or whatever, there's the pearly gates and St. Peter's up there, whatever, but in my Darkon Ravenloft campaigns, it's the Black Gate, right? You find yourself before the Black Gate, and basically the Raven Queen is there, kind of with that porcelain mask like they did in season 2 of Critical Role. And I was like, she's probably so blasé about him showing up at the Black Gate now. She's like, oh hey Pete, and he's like, oh hey Kim, how you doing? How's Tricks today? Blah blah blah. And he chats with her for a second, and then he's like, oh, feel myself being pulled back. Catch you later today or tomorrow at the latest. And he pops back into our reality. But it ended up with one pack lord basically sacrificing his fellows in the thorny vine area so that he could escape and get away. And the party was successful in this little endeavor. And so now, the next session, they'll be actually reaching Queen's Park Garden, and they'll be finding out the whole story of what's going on there. If you like what we're doing, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and join us next time for the Henchman's Memoirs.